The introduction many of us had to Cheryl was that she was the wife and the accuser of James Fortune.
For 14 years, Cheryl tells WJZ she lived with abuse at the hands of her husband.
A lot of control, fear, a whole lot of fear.
Her breaking point finally coming in October of 2014. During a fight at their home, investigators say James hit her with a wooden stool, kicked her, and even threw her against the wall.
Cheryl went on an episode of Sister Circle, states that there were church members and leaders of the church who were aware of this behavior in her husband, and they wanted to work things out through the years behind the scenes without getting the law involved.
With you guys being such a staple
Yeah.
in the gospel community
Yeah.
and a pillar of the church, was the church ever aware of the physical abuse that was going on?
There were a few people who were aware, and I think, made some attempts to try and help, but I believe that a person has to be ready for that help. And I think that may have been one of the issues, so you have to be ready for it. And you have to be transparent, and you have to kind of take the veil off, and be ready for that. But yes, there were some people that were aware and tried.
So they
and I wasn't ready.
Right, because it had to come from you.
I wasn't ready. Absolutely. Yeah.
And to the shock of none of us, this method, of course, did not work.
Is that why the secret came out?
I did have fractures, and I did have a lot of internal bruising.
While at the hospital, a doctor whom she calls an angel had 4 simple words for her that would give her a new act.
Have you had enough?
A decision she knew was a matter of life and death.
James Fortune does not deny that some sort of abuse took place, but he denies the severity of it, of course.
Of what happened, there are reports that you threw her against a wall, hit her with a stool, threw her out of the house. Were there any broken bones?
There were no broken bones. There were no internal injuries. There was no broken pelvis. Those reports were false. Her being beat with a stool was false.
The silver lining in this story, though, is that Cheryl acknowledged that she wasn't her best self, neither the best form of a mom she could be, because she had kept she and her children in this situation so long. But she was finally ready to move on and create a solid future for she and her children without James. She worked really hard to find her way back to who she originally was before all the chaos. She admits that she had fallen in love with the idea of being married and having a beautiful relationship like her father and mother had, but she finally had to accept that that wasn't her reality. It was the best thing that she could have ever done.
We were talking earlier, and you said your parents really had kind of the ideal relationship, still married after 50 years.
Yes. Yeah.
So when you went into your marriage, did you know before that something wasn't right?
I did. Yeah.
What kept you going, even though you had great modeling from your own family?
Yeah, I think that was one of the biggest things, was great modeling. And one thing my dad always said, even as a younger child, I always rooted for the underdog. So it was like I always wanted people who were overlooked always to win. And I kind of wanted to always be that one to just root for them and help them. But I did recognize some things, but I also wanted to help, you know.
To this day, Cheryl has never been on like a smear campaign against James Fortune. She really just goes telling her story to transform the lives of others through her music and through her life.
He ended up going to jail.
Yes, for a few days.
And actually pleaded guilty. What was that like, to finally have him say, okay, I'm responsible to some degree here?
Well, I really didn't feel any type of way. I know people are like, what? Because I had forgiven already prior to it, because I knew that it was necessary for me in order for myself to move forward. Oh, absolutely.
And speaking of moving forward,
yes.
You didn't only survive, which is that's a big word. You didn't only survive, but what you want other women who are in situations like this to know is that you can also thrive. You're a singer, songwriter. You are a mother of 4, which I know gives you great joy as well.
I love it.
And a lot of people know you as your own true self as a singer, but you also worked with Kirk Franklin and the Family years ago. You wrote a lot of the songs and helped on a lot of those songs that people got awards for.
Yeah, so I wrote a lot of songs for James Fortune, and currently right now I still sing with Kirk Franklin, which is amazing. He brought me on for the 20 Years and One Night. I also did the Hello Fear record with him, and it's just a joy. And I just believe that you can overcome, you can push through, you can make it. And I just want to show people, I want to be the example of and what it looks like on the other side.
She also recently sent 2 of her children off to college, so that was big. In the midst of all the madness, she kept pushing, kept thriving, so that her children would have an example of an overcomer as well.
Good morning. We are here with Miss Cheryl. How are you doing this morning?
I am wonderful. How are you?
Wonderful. What brings you out to the ASCAP breakfast?
Well, I'm a part of ASCAP, and I love ASCAP. I've been with them for a very long time, and so I'm just excited to be here and actually nominated for New Artist of the Year. So that was really great. Very grateful, very blessed. Because this is my first record, and to get a nomination off of my first solo record I'm just grateful. I'm so grateful. So just here to just kind of, hang out with everybody and have a good time.
It's one thing to talk about moving on, but like Cheryl really encaptured the embodiment of moving on, pulling yourself up by the bootstraps, leaving it all behind, and plowing forward for the sake of your legacy and your children.